I went to this private school here in Cape Town called Bishops. I don't know how I got in. I don't know how. But I was very lucky. And the first thing that I picked up was, first and foremost, I was the only black guy who had really decent English. Secondly, I was the only black guy who played a sport called basketball. Third, I was the only black guy and only person who listened to hip hop. So immediately I wasn't like anyone else in my high school. So I was walking through the corridors, and I mean, this is post-apartheid. It's not a big thing, but you're dealing with the most privileged kids in the whole country, you know? And you're this kid who's into this culture, into this sport that no one understands. If you don't play rugby, you don't do anything there. So that's where I immediately picked up that, nah man, there's something about me that makes me a little bit different. And I was in boarding school at the time, so I wasn't really out here. I didn't get to meet a lot of people. But then when I left high school, and when you go to Bishops, there's this thing called the Bishop's degree, where you go to UCT and you do business science and you take over your daddy's business. Given. Not this guy. No. This guy figured, you know what? I want to go my own route. I don't know exactly what it is that I'm good at. All I know is I'm good at talking and I can convince people to see my way. So I figured, hey, law and order, why not study law? And I went to CPUT actually first. Before I did that, I did accounting at CPUT. But I didn't actually go to CPUT for accounting. I went there to go play basketball because the coach who ran the program there, his name is Terry Kita, and he was the assistant coach to Doc Rivers, who was the coach of the Boston Celtics with Paul Pierce. So that was my way to getting into the NBA, because all I ever wanted to do was play ball. Now, while I was there, got to CPUT, superstar basketball player. I mean, I was training twice a day, gymming every single day. I had a scholarship to Arkansas in the US. So I was already like, I'm on my way. South Africa, it's been dope. Deuces, I'm going to play ball. LeBron James, I see you, you know? In my first year at varsity, I dislocated my left knee. And when you dislocate your knee in basketball at a young age, that's career over. So at that point, I'm like, the only thing I've known is how to play ball. But basketball did teach me one thing. If you work hard at something, no matter where you come from, no matter how talented or not talented you may be, you will be good at it. So I took all that energy from the basketball court and I started pushing it towards urban culture and music. And I always knew I had a voice, but I didn't know how to use it until I came up with this concept called bread and butter. And bread and butter came from an argument I had. Before that, I worked in corporate. I worked for Nedbank. I was an ATM custodian. And we used to push about 15-hour working days. So when the ATM would get messed up, I'd be the guy who fixed it. So we 15 hours a day, just working. So I took that, and I was like, work ethic, I got it. I can work hard. If I put my mind to it, I can work hard. Basketball, I have to practice discipline, done. Then I said, I'm gonna quit my job. The reason I quit my job was because when I was at Nedbank, I went for this thing called the MTV-based VJ search, and I was just trying my luck being a presenter, like, I know music. Let me go talk about this thing. And for some crazy reason, I made it and became a finalist. And that was the first click where I was like, wait a minute, this voice I've had, I've actually used it for what I love. I didn't win MTV-based. That was the first thing I lost. But then when I came back to the office at Nedbank, my cubicle really felt even smaller. Like, it felt small. And then you start looking around, and you're like, and my regional manager, I don't want to be like you. I'm shooting for that position, but I don't want to be like you. My colleagues, we had one of those financial meetings where they say, the opening statement was, at 65, you could be a millionaire. And I said, what? 65? 65? I said, whoa. You need to dial it back. I'm 23, you know? You need to push it back to 25. Talk to me then. And they were like, no, if you save enough, you can become that millionaire and you can go into property. And I said, no. I'm surrounded by people who don't understand that it's possible. My greatest influences internationally are Will Smith, Kyizee, and they all talk about beating the odds and working hard. So when I submitted my letter of resignation, my manager said to me, there's something that you're destined for, and you need to spend time to discover it. A week later, some guy had asked me to MC his wedding. So I MC'd the wedding, it was awesome, we agreed on a rate. And I mean, I was like, dude, I'm happy with 500 Rand, sharp. I don't have a job now. But this guy didn't want to pay me my 500 Rand, bruh. Like 500, guys. So I was like, bro, you know you're messing with my bread and butter. And this guy said, what? And I said, whoa, hold that thought. And I wrote that word down, that phrase, bread and butter. And that was the creation of my radio show called Bread and Butter. What do you do to get your bread and butter? So here I am, I quit my job. I don't know exactly what I want to do, but I know that I have a voice. And radio is where you go when you have a voice. But I also have this entrepreneurial side where I see the gaps in the entertainment scene because I listen to music and I see what's not happening. And I see that there are people already in the industry who are doing things, but I can't engage with them because I don't have a point of entry. How do I come to you as a guy who's been running a clothing line for 5 years and say, dude, yo man, I think I'm pretty dope. Yeah, let's work, you know? But then I came up with this concept. If I create a radio show that speaks to guys like me who want to learn, who are into this hip-hop culture, surely guys who are in the position in terms of business-orientated clothing lines, big parties, all want to share a message. And that's how my radio show picked up. It was born from the fact that I was angry that I couldn't hear Kulichana's music, AKA's music, enough in these streets. And that music affected me in a positive way. You know, I was the only guy who used to come to my office and I'd be bumping Kulichana, No More Hunger. And no one would understand why I love this music so much. Because the message behind it is so powerful. J. Cole, all of these guys. So then my radio show started to kick off at UCT. Now, when you go and do campus radio, there's no paycheck. It's voluntary services. And when I say voluntary, it means do whatever you can, but it's for free, you know? And that's where the reality set in. You know, you're coming from a job where at the age of 23, you're earning about 15 to 18K per month. You have a beautiful apartment at Burgundy Estate. You're young, you've got your first car. You quit all of that and you go and do free work, and everything starts disappearing. The bank starts calling you up, asking you for the car, you know? And it's like, what am I gonna do? You know, you have to leave your fancy apartment for a little khonchanyana in observatory where the, where the cockroaches are saying, what's up every morning? And you're like, you know, we laugh about it now, but I think this is the powerful thing around that, is that when you're going through that space, those cockroaches become your homies, you know? They become your homies. They don't bother you so much. Instead, they help you wake up in the morning like, hey, I gotta get going. I can't be out here living like this, you know? So that's what happened with me. Lost it all in terms of money that was made. And one of the most important things for me, and I used to read about branding, and I used to meet up with all these people who talk about your brand profiling, and your personal brand needs to say this. And one thing that I picked up from Jay-Z, from Will Smith, from J. Cole was integrity. I could be as hungry as I possibly can. I may not have ate for 3 days, but when you're dealing with me, you won't be able to tell. When you want me to deliver a specific product, I will deliver, just like the guy who's been eating every single day. So that was the most important thing for me. So from going on air at UCT Radio, people started to pick up that, hey, dude, you've got this voice that people listen to on air. Why don't you start hosting shows? So if we have a fashion show, you become the MC. So I said, okay, cool, I'll do that. And I said, hey, this thing has money. I started researching online. Ah, man, this guy's an MC for a living. People do this for a living, really? And I remember, hey, there was a night that was rough. I'm smiling about it now, but when it was happening, it was rough, guys. I had to MC a fashion show at Granddaddy, and it was 4 hours. 4 hours of MCing. I had the flu, and I had 7 Rand. And that 7 Rand was supposed to take me from observatory to town. So I got to town, I was sick, I had no cash, so I was expecting payment from this gig afterwards. I meet with the promoter of the event, and this guy gives me a handshake and he slides in a 100 Rand note. And I'm thinking, 3 hours? I mean, everyone's happy. You've made your money. Iklipa, 100 Rand. But then at that point, I was walking. And my girlfriend at the time, we hadn't ate for about 2 days. And I'm walking through town, and I remember thinking to myself, this is the point when you make a decision, if you're going to follow through with this or if you're going to stop. And it was, you know those cold winter Cape Town nights where the wind is blowing? And I'm thinking, I have 100 Rand from the work that I just did, and I don't know if I want to do this anymore. You know, people are happy, everyone was entertained, but no one sees the value in what I'm doing. And I remember walking all the way up Long Street, just thinking, and I thought, okay, cool, the cheapest cabs I can get to Observatory are by the McDonald's, because those guys are always desperate. So I said, okay, cool. Go to a cab, I said, dude, can I get a ride to Observatory? He's like, 90 bucks. I'm like, ah, brah. I'll do it for 70. So I get into the cab, go to Observatory, and my girlfriend hadn't ate for 2 days, like I said, and I hadn't ate. And I stop at the KFC in Observatory, and I just buy like a Streetwise 2. And I give that to my girlfriend, and when I got home, and she ate. And she asked me, did I eat? I was like, no, I ate. But I was lying. But it's those nights, it's those moments where you tap into a higher being, where everything around you doesn't actually matter. The 100 Rand you valued me at doesn't matter. Immediately at that point, that's where the motivation came. I got so angry. I got so angry. So angry. I couldn't contain it. My girlfriend asked me, why can't you sleep? I said, babes, it's a long story. I got so angry. And then I started writing down the names of promoters who didn't pay me the right fee. And I wrote them down. And I said, one day you're going to come back. One day you're going to come back. Funny enough, the following day, after that gig, I had another gig here at Bree Street Studios, and it was a hip-hop gig. I'm like, nah, I got this. These guys are going to pay me. And the agreed-upon rate was 1.5. Now, 1.5 when you're broke, that's like a cash in and a half. You're like, damn, I'm about to go to McDonald's, give myself a little something. I'll enjoy this. And those guys at the end of the gig, they didn't know, but I was dead broke. I was dead broke. Like, I was dead broke. And they said to me, no, listen, it was a Saturday night. Listen, we're going to link up on Monday. We'll give you your cash on Monday. Remember that thing about integrity I spoke to you about? The minute you go to someone and you show them that you're in need of something, they can abuse you. You never show people your weakness. So I said, okay, cool, no, Monday, it's all good, bruh. Chill. I went home. That was the first night I walked from Cape Town to Observatory in the middle of the night. And I walked home, and I slept. I woke up the next morning. I begged one of my boys for 50 Rand, and then I went to ShopRite, got some bread. You know, that was one of those weekends where it's like, okay, cool. Now the Monday came along, and those guys told me they had just broken even. Do you see how detailed I know these stories? Because they hurt. They broke even, but they didn't make a profit, so they couldn't pay me. So that's 2 gigs. One weekend where I've shown value, where I've pitched up, where I've delivered my services, and I'm not getting anything out of it. I wrote their names down. That was 4 years ago. Luckily, there's something that happens when you're on the hustle. And I call my hustle the unconventional hustle, purely because there's no ladder for you to climb. You don't know what's right or wrong. All you can do is keep trying. And if you get something wrong, you hope that you're going to get the next thing right. So I did a campus DJ search for Good Hope FM. And I got rejected. I was a finalist, I got rejected. Everyone thought I was going to get the gig at Good Hope, I got rejected. There was one mistake that Good Hope made, and that was that my programming manager, when he was sending out details for the competition on when we need to show up, he SMS'd from his phone, which meant I had his number. I wanted that number. Every 5 Rand, I was phoning that guy. Hey man, how you doing? This is the tall guy. I'd like to see you. Come back next year, sharp. This was in October. 2nd of January, called him. Hey man, Happy New Year, sharp. You know, sharp. What's good? He says, come and see me in a week. I came to see him in a week. Bear in mind, all this time, there's money that's floating just by mistake. There's little money that you get. You get an MC gig here. you get, you need to be a promoter here, 200, 300 rand. But there's always something that's telling you, just keep going. Here's something, just keep going. Don't stop. The minute you're like, what am I going to do? There's something that comes. I had a guy in Observatory who ran a spaza shop, and I'd just rock up, and the guy would be like, dog, I know you're broke. Buy on credit. Get whatever you need. You don't hear of people like that. They just happen to join your path when you need them. So then I went to this guy, and he said, listen, man, we have our winner. We don't have space on air for you. But if you want to, you can come practice in our backup studio and work on your craft. And when we have an available spot, we can see if we can fit you in. That's basically saying, look, dude, it's not going to happen, but you never know. So I said, okay, cool. That meeting was on a Wednesday. I made a commitment to myself. Every single day I spent 2 hours minimum in that backup studio. So Monday to Sunday I was there. And my point was, I want the management to see me because I'm rare. You'll never meet a guy who will work as hard as I do. I won't make noise about how hard I work, I'll just do it. So I was in that studio every single day for 2 hours. Up until the point where my manager said, dude, we've never met someone who practices as much as you do. And I said, that's because you've never met me. So then everyone at Good Hope was like, who is this guy? What's going on? So now you're the guy who's just, you don't have a show, but everyone just sees you there and you're active. You're not sucking up, you're focusing on the craft. 10,000 hours. That's what it takes to master anything that you do. So there were days where, and I stayed in Observatory. Good Hope is far, it's in Sea Point. So I'd be like, okay, let me use some music. Download a brand new album, put it on my phone, walk to town, like, okay, I'm done with this album, let me get a new album, walk to Sea Point. And I'd practice every single day. The guy who won the competition, for some odd reason, he decided to go on air drunk. I looked at this guy, I said, God, you're talking to me, ne? And they said, listen, we're suspending this guy for 1 week. Can you please stand in for him for 1 week? I said, I'll do that. The first thing I did, I had an iPad that I'd won from the competition as a finalist. I took that, I went on this app called Pixlr. I completely created a brand for that one show. That one show, I said, I'm going to create a brand. Everyone in Cape Town who supports me needs to know that I'm on air at that exact moment. And that was 2 to 6 in the morning. So I said, guys, I got a brand new show at Good Hope, 2 to 6. Everyone was going crazy on Facebook, Twitter. Oh my gosh, Kyeezee's there, he's got one. No one knew that I was there for 1 week. No one knew. Did the show, it was amazing. You walk into a studio and you do something at a level that you didn't imagine you'd get there just yet. Maybe it'd take me 3 or 4 years, but I'm here. Still for free. Cool. Do the show. I come back to the office on Monday. I say, sir, thank you for the opportunity. Oh, by the way, this is how I did online. And he said, how did you do this? I said, no, man, I come from the streets. I hustle. So then the guys were impressed. They were like, how did you do this? I said, hey, man, tell me when the show opens up. Conveniently, that guy never got his job back. Unfortunately. He didn't value it. I wanted it. I treated that 2 to 6 Saturday morning till Saturday night till Sunday morning, Nevief, like it was gold. I did it like Thibaut Touch would do 3 to 6. I invested time into it. And at the same time, when I did Good Hope, I was doing UCT radio. So I was doing 2 radio stations, meaning that I was spending more time on air than any other radio jock in the city. No one knows it, but I'm calculating 10,000 hours. From that weekend slot, I got promoted to a 3 to 5. 3 to 5 in the morning. I'm not talking daytime, 3 to 5. When you guys are in your second dream, I'm waking up like, okay, let's get it, you know? But in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, 10,000 hours. This is going to actually work out. I can tell you guys, as of 2 weeks ago, I just started my brand new show 2 to 4 in the afternoon at Good Hope FM. So that's after 3 years of work, you know? Now, I love hip-hop. I'm a radio jock. I'm a TV presenter for SABC3. I did Winner Home and the Presenter Search on 3. You know, you get featured on top billing, but the most important thing to me is accept me for who I am. I'm an ordinary guy who wants to do extraordinary things. So I want to be the Jay-Z. I want to be the AKA. But best believe you're going to catch me walking down Long Street just like I always was before. But I'm building a future for my legacy through these streets. A lot of people from Cape Town, and I said this on Twitter once, there's gold in the streets of Cape Town. You just got to keep digging for it. And I think it's one of those misconceptions as young black people here in Cape Town that there's a white ceiling, you know? And I've always said to guys, yo, the ceiling might be there, but I've got some pretty strong legs. So we're going to power through. So if you create that obstacle for yourself, you deal with it. I've got bigger goals, you know? I'm a big fan of Thabo Mbeki. And I'm a big fan of Thabo Mbeki because he always said a true leader is the kind of person that creates for a generation that he won't even see benefit. So my objective is to break through into mainstream entertainment, and hopefully in 10 years' time, there'll be 4 or 5 other bread and butters. And they'll be talking to our kids. They'll be telling our stories. The story of hip-hop is about creating something from nothing, you know. And I'll always reference Jay-Z. He came from the corner block selling drugs into the corporate space. And we may talk a different language, but we're just as intelligent as any other person, you know. And we have a different way of expressing our views on how we experience life. So that's me. I think you wanted me to get into the gory details. Did I get gory enough for you? I'm a pretty pleasant guy, you know. The obstacles and challenges that you deal with, I look around the corner, man. Every time you say no to me, by the time you turn around to see if I'm there, I'm already on the move.